Hey guys, we're back, and this time we're taking a look at the Aftermath expansion for Nemesis. This one was a Kickstarter exclusive, I believe. Originally, from the first Kickstarter, it was boxed in with the Void Seeders, and when the Lockdown Kickstarter came, they re-had these up available, except that they had to put them into standalone boxes like this, and not much to show on the back, is there? But this is going to add a handful of new character options to your crew to give you more variety in the base game, as well as offering a additional couple modes to play the game. One of which is a continuation after you play your base game. You can run Aftermath and add it onto the game to extend the existing campaign. I probably just dumped tokens everywhere by flipping that over. Then there's also the research mode, which is kind of cool. And we'll get right in and take a look. So the first thing we have right here on the top is our book. And it's not nearly as thick as the original book. I think it's only 4 or 5 pages. You have our components list on the front here. A little section going over the new character traits. One of the cool things about this is not only do the new characters have traits, which basically make them more unique in their specific ability to each character, it also comes with cards to give those traits to all the original crew from the original base game, which is probably, between the trait cards and the new crew, is probably the biggest reason to pick this up to add it to your game. There's some things in here for setup. Then we have some other Aftermath components which are used for various new things. There's the Epilogue Mode. This is the one where you continue on your game. So this, you leave the game set up exactly as it was when you played the original game, and this takes place after you're docking with the ship, basically to check on the crew and see what happened. Then we have the research mode over here. I have not actually played the research mode yet, but it's basically a regular normal game of Nemesis, but you're using all the Aftermath components. And then there's more stuff for the research mode on the back. Next thing we have here is the board, and you'll notice it's considerably smaller than the original board because this is your shuttle. This shuttle is going to dock on the Nemesis, and then you have additional rooms basically to connect onto the Nemesis as a whole. You can use the technical corridors to move back and forth between the shuttle and the Nemesis. And we have our insert here. As with the base game, the insert's really good for what it is, and no real complaints about that, except for when somebody flips the board over. Dumped a few things, nothing major. So where to start here? I guess we start with our player boards. And we have our new characters. So we have the Bounty Hunter. Comes with a German Shepherd. Kind of like a cyborg German Shepherd too. Cool character in my opinion. Move this over a little bit. We have the Psychologist. We have the CEO, who's being helped along by his friendly android. We have an actual android. Shouldn't look anything like Bishop. And then we have the Convict. So those are your new characters. Let's see if I can't do the models in the same order. So there's our Bounty Hunter. I do like the models in this. They did a good amount of detail with what they have. I'm sorry if the camera keeps going out of focus there. To go with the Bounty Hunter, you have his dog. I thought he was like a cyborg, but I guess not. It's actually just a German Shepherd. He's wearing like a flak vest, though. Trying to remember who's who here. That's the end. Next we have the Psychologist. A little bit of a seam there on the other side of the arm, but nothing horrible. There was a little bit of flash on some of these bases where they had broken them off a mold. I just trimmed those off already. Nothing major. Next we have the CEO. He has some interesting mechanics with his little helper robot there. Then we have the Android, which has a really cool texture to address. I don't know if the camera's picking up, but if you're into painting, I think that you can make that look really interesting with that texture on there. She's an interesting character in the fact that she's not organic, so she's kind of immune to some of the intruder's abilities, which is kind of cool. And then finally we have the Convict. He's a pretty cool guy. My only complaint about him is that he has some kind of pistol. His actual weapon is a lead pipe, I think, and he can gain extra ones of them if he has to drop it for some reason. He can basically just rip a pipe off the ship somewhere and use it. But then they put him with a pistol. Kind of a odd choice there, but can't really complain about it. Then we have an upgrade for the first player token. This is the Space Kitty. It's literally a cat in a spacesuit, which is kind of hysterical. Though I have some weird, I think it's glue from where they glued this pipe on the back down the side here. I scraped a little bit of it off, but you can still see it there. Kind of cool, though. A lot easier to see this sitting in front of a player than it is to see the little flat token. Next we have the turrets. I'm kind of mixed on these. I like the guns themselves, but some of them are put together pretty poorly, and the base is kind of lame on them. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more effort put into the base. Maybe some feet going out to the corners or something, or put them on the same type of bases as the player models. It's also odd that these have square bases where everything else in the game has round bases. But that one's not too bad. It's a little off-centered, but I have, of the three of them, one of them, yeah, I think it's this one. The guns are so crooked, they're like aiming at each other, and they're very difficult to get out of this box. They just have sausage fingers. But yeah, you can see there, my two guns are definitely misaligned. And then, yeah, there's like a big chunk taken out of the base here where they broke it off of the sprue. Again, just a little disappointed with the base on these. I think they slacked off. I'm going to try the whole trick with hot water to heat this up and try to bend this back, and hopefully it'll get into a decent position. And then, of course, one more of those. This one has the same big chunk taken out of it there. On to some other components. We have an hourglass, which is kind of, actually, I think it's a minute glass. But this is going to be used for one of the game modes to add some more, basically make it more tense and suspenseful. As if the game wasn't already scary and hard enough, we're going to add a timer to the mix. Then we get a selection of new number 2 rooms. We have a crafting room. Goes up there. We have a server room. We have the turret control room and the alarm room. So those have got a massive pile of tokens here, which I'm going to get out. Push this off to the side. And the first set of these we have are for the turrets, and they are the turret behaviors. You have your turret marker on the back, and they have different options for target everything, target only intruders, and then off, basically. We have 3 new exploration tokens that can get mixed in with the ones from the original game. These are the locations of the 3 turrets. Then we have a whole slew of new exploration turret tokens, and these are for the aftermath if you're playing the add-on scenario there. These are different from the originals in that they have exclamation points instead of question marks. And there's some interesting things in there, like all the bulkhead doors shutting. There's some eggs that you can find in random rooms. And some other odds and ends in there. Then we have some new crafted item cards. And these are going to be combat drones, environmental suits, and laser pointers. Then we have our new trait cards, and these are for the original crew. For the original game, the captain gets just die already, which is an awesome ability that allows him to basically unload his revolver into a target. Put this over here. The pilot gets authorization. When you use the cockpit room action, you can open or close a single door anywhere on the ship. That one's kind of useful. The scientist gets wheelchair. I don't know if that's a trait, but it's entertaining. And when you get a serious leg wound, it counts as already being dressed. That one's kind of entertaining, if not a little questionable. The scout gets scavenger. When you perform a search action in any white room, draw 1 item from each item deck, and then pick 1, discard the other 2. Allows you to basically makeshift stuff from the other decks in a white room, which is kind of cool. Also, the only way to draw from multiple decks at a time. Normally you have to draw from the same deck every time. Soldier gets the trait Rush. You may deal yourself 1 light wound to perform 3 actions in a single round. That can definitely be useful, especially if the medic's around to help you out. And the mechanic gets Handyman. You can use your starting quest items as yellow items when performing craft item actions. That one's less useful. I guess it can be, depending on what you're going for if you're doing crafting, I suppose. On to the new characters from the Aftermath expansion. First up we have here is the Bounty Hunter, and his trait is Leica, I think is her name, which is the German Shepherd. Each game turn before performing your first action, you can move Leica to a neighboring room or call her back. Place her on your character board, regardless of distance. When Leica is in the same room as the Bounty Hunter or an intruder, you can automatically call her back. When she's on the main board, she performs a noise roll just like any other character. During event phase, she's considered as the player on the left of the Bounty Hunter. Leica ignores fire and is not attacked by intruders. Basically allows you to run around and scout ahead. I believe he's also got some cards in his deck that get bonuses based on if she's with him or not. So those are kind of neat. And I have everything pushed way off to the side here. I might have to move the camera. His starting equipment is a pulse rifle. Nothing special about it. Just gets 5 ammo. He has Aggro Override Quest, which you can activate in the surgery room, and Seek Mode Quest, which you discard tools to activate. Aggro Override allows her to deal an intruder. She basically attacks the intruders. And the Seek Mode, you can play a search action to perform in the room like as in. Afterward, Leica returns to the Bounty Hunter board. So it basically allows her to go search, find you items, and bring them back to you, which is kind of cool. kind of like this character overall, so maybe a little bias here. You got your basic actions on here, right up to about here. Then we start getting into the specific ones. Taking aim, which is kind of the reverse of the covering fire one. It allows you to basically grab aggro of a intruder and lure them out of the room. Tactical move, Go Girl, and Sentinel, which I think is a controversial one here. You get the top part if the dog is on your board. Also, you can discard this to basically sacrifice her to save your own life. Next up, we have the Psychologist, and her trait is Shrink. When any character in your room performs a basic move action, you may discard an action card from your hand to perform a basic move action to the same room. You can perform this movement before other characters roll for noise. The interesting thing about that is, at least the way it's worded, if you move there before they roll for noise, it's not your turn. You don't make the noise roll. They don't have to make a noise roll because they're moving into a room that already has a player in it. That's how I read that. It may not be right. Someone will correct me or comment on it, but that's how I see it. Makes her incredibly useful in that aspect. The Psychologist starts out with a basic energy pistol. 3 ammo, rolls of double hit count as a single hit. Just a basic standard pistol. Her 2 quest items are the emotion scanner, which you can get from the emergency room, and the Oculobe drone, which you can discard an energy charge to get. And of course, they're upside down. The motion scanner allows you to use Don't Panic, Would You Kindly, and Lend a Hand actions from a neighboring room. I believe those are cards specific to her deck. The Oculobe drone here is a one-use only. Give this item to another character. The Psychologist may see all secret checks being made by this character. This item cannot be traded or discarded. So this is more useful in the semi-co-op, so you can verify, yes, this person said the engine was fixed. It looks fixed to me. In real co-op, straight up, I don't see the point in this because they shouldn't be lying to you to begin with if you're playing straight up co-op. So useful in the semi-co-op though. Onto her deck. Of course, you have the basics that every character has. Then we start getting into her more unique abilities, computer skills a few other characters have. Would You Kindly, Lend a Hand, and Don't Panic. There's some interesting abilities there. Next up, we have the CEO. His trait is Unlimited Ambition. You start the game with a body serious wound, and as long as your robot has energy markers, this wound is considered as dressed. Before the game starts, check your corporate objectives for each player. Again, he's more useful in the semi-co-op mode, so you can look through and see what each player is working on. You never know if they're going to take the corporate or the personal objectives, though. So keep that in mind. His equipment cards, he doesn't actually start with a weapon. He starts with his robot, who has energy of 5. You can discard 1 ammo injury marker each time you use a robot action. Some of the robot's actions are removed from the game after use, and the robot's energy can fully be restored with an energy charge. And again, if something happens to him, he runs out of energy, that body serious wound, it becomes undressed. Next up, we have his quest items, which are access codes. He actually gets 2 copies of access codes. And when one comes into play, it removes all other copies, so if there's another one around. These are one use only. Pod override. Remove any one escape pod from the game, or repair or break remotely an engine of your choice. And the other one is the ship codes. Discard the coordinates card and choose a new one. You cannot perform this action after the time marker has reached any blue space. Or reduce the item counter by 1. Pick a chosen item from the deck matching the color of the room you are in. Reshuffle that deck afterward. So both very interesting things. You can only have one or the other active at a time, but both have their uses. Onto his deck. Again, you've got the same, more or less, search is the same. Protect is a new option, which allows the robot to protect the CEO. Robot Punch is a new one, which allows you to spend energy. Computer Skills is kind of a basic. Just One More Thing. That one's an interesting one. Allows you to take actions after you passed. Rest. Demolition. Back into some regular cards. Stop It. And Authority. So I think he has more unique cards to him than any other character. Next we move on to the android. And her trait is Synthetic. After choosing the android, discard your personal objective, draw a second corporate objective. Your wounds could only be dressed and healed by use of the self-repair card. You cannot use green items on yourself except for clothes to get rid of slime. You can never have a larva on your character board. Each time you draw a contamination card, scan it. If it's infected, you suffer 1 light wound. Remove the contamination card afterward. Draw an action card. So being that she's not organic, she cannot be infected, so the cards basically just deal damage to her, and then you get to draw a card. So that's kind of cool. Makes her very interesting. Starts off the game with an arm gun, ammo of 3. When you roll a double crit or double hit there, you deal 1 additional injury. This item cannot be traded or discarded. Then we have our quest items. We have the deactivation module, which you get from an energy charge, or the emergency energy cell. You finish the game with the time marker reaches the space on number 5 on the time track. Activate this item in the generator room. The deactivation module comes with 3 energy. Discard 1 action from your card and 1 energy marker from this card to ignore the effects of an intruder attack. This could be used in dire situations. The queen just jumped on top of you. Hey, that's a good time to use that. I like that one. The emergency energy cell basically allows the game to end when the time marker reaches space 3 on the time track. It cannot be canceled or cannot be traded or discarded. I'm not sure how that one works. I think you as the character here run out of time. You run out of battery basically on turn 5. Unless you activate this, that gives you 2 additional turns. That's what it seems like to me. I'm not positive on that one. I'll have to look that up. I have not played the character yet, but that is an interesting limitation to her though. Onto her deck, we have your search cards. Self-repair is a new one. Use duct tape or tools to dress a serious wound. Heal all of your light wounds. Or you can discard a malfunction token for it. Demolition's pretty standard. Repairs. Then we get into computer skills. Direct access. Arm tablet. And efficiency. Overall, pretty interesting character. And then finally we have the convict, who has tough. You only die when receiving a wound after your 4th serious wound instead of 3. You can still be killed normally by intruder attacks or effect cards. So it makes him just a little bit tougher than the rest of the guys. He can take 1 extra serious wound. So the convict comes with 2 starting weapons. They're a little bit different. The first one here is your cups. It can be discarded only when using the cups key item. These take up 1 of your hand slots, which kind of suck and basically limits your use throughout the game. However, this other item is given to the bounty hunter. If there's no bounty hunter present, you give it to any other character of your choice. And these are the keys to the cups. You can use these to remove the cups from the convict, allowing him to use both hands. His quest items are an augmented arm, which can be activated in the surgery room, and a pipe, which can be activated in any room. The pipe will go through first. Is basically your weapon. You only suffer light wounds when missing during melee attacks. You should discard this card for any reason. You flip it over, and you can actually get it back. You can't trade it with anyone. So basically, it just allows him to pick up another metal pipe somewhere on the ship. And then the augmented arm allows you to perform a rest action or place this card on a undressed serious wound card. As long as it remains there, you can ignore that serious wound card. Kind of interesting. I like the fact that they made him like overly tough. Then we have our basic actions here. We've got I need this. Some more basic repairs, short temper. Catch this. Opportunist. And bash. They just made him into a pure brute, which I kind of like. Next we have some reference cards which should have been included in the base game, and I don't understand why they haven't done that by now in the reprint of the game, but this references when you draw out of the bag during intruder development, what happens with each of the tokens that you draw. Says you're referencing the book 1,000 times every time this comes up, and I don't understand why these weren't in the original game, but they definitely should be. On the back is a little helper cards for some of the new things. We got a couple new serious wound cards, which it's cool to see more variety in the serious wounds category. That was kind of lacking in the original game, and the same ones came up multiple times. So it's only one new thing, 2 copies of the same card, but those are cool to have to add more variety to the base game. We get a small pile of new event cards to mix in with the original ones from the game. These have some cool new effects on them. More variety is always welcome. There are some interesting new ones in here as well. So those are all awesome to have. Again, adds more to the base game. We have these new alert cards, which are kind of like the event cards. These are for the new game mode. And they have some interesting effects in these as well. We have the new Lucrative Offer, which is a new quest that's used in any player count games. I believe in the single player it's the only one you can use, the only one with the 1+ on it. And then we have the personal requirement cards. And these are for one of the new game modes, I believe. Add a variety of new objectives, basically. And that is everything. Let me zoom out here. Can't get it all on camera. That is everything in the box. It does have quite a nice insert. I believe these will even fit sleeved cards. And there's more than enough room for the tokens here. I believe this room was for extra for the medic. So if you have the medic, there is extra space in here to put her. Overall, though, there's a ton of stuff here. The things I like best, obviously, are the new character options. Doubles the number of characters you have from the base game. The new trait cards for the characters in the base games add a lot to it. And a bunch of other odds and ends, the new game modes and things. The drawback here is that this thing is extremely hard to find. And the value for $1 here is where you kind of lose out. if you can't find this at a reasonable price, you're going to pay way more than what it's worth. I think these were originally given away for free when people backed on the original Kickstarter. And then during the second Kickstarter, they were an optional add-on. I can't tell you how much, but now they're going at aftermarket prices for insane amounts. And if you can get it for a reasonable price and people aren't trying to scalp you, it's well worth it. If they're way, way overpriced, then maybe it's something you can skip. Overall, I really like it. I'm glad I picked one up, but I would not have wanted to pay scalper prices for it, so keep that in mind. The new room cards are cool. You can use them in all your games. The turrets are cool. You can use them in all your games. The new crew, the new traits, all that stuff can be used in all your games. Plus, you have the 2 new game modes on top of that. So it's kind of up to you if you decide if it's worth it or not. But overall, me personally, I think it's well worth it if you can find it for a reasonable price. Anyway, that is going to wrap it up for our look at Nemesis Aftermath. As I said, if you can find it for a reasonable price, definitely check it out. It is worth it. If you can find it for an insane price, then it's up to you if you decide whether it's worth your time to look into more. That said, hopefully you can find some. Hopefully there'll be reprints or new Awakened Realm campaigns in the future that may have this as an optional add-on, and there's always that chance that you can pick it up from there as well. So keep an eye out. If you can't find it for a good price, maybe there'll be ways to get it in the future. But for now, if you can find it for a good price and you're a fan of Nemesis, definitely worth picking up. If you're not super sold on the game, you're not diehard looking for the stuff, and you can't find a decent price, I would hold off and see if you can find it at another campaign later on for a more reasonable price. Anyway, I hope that helps you out if it's something worth tracking down for yourself or not. Me personally, I found a good deal on it, and I'm glad I did. As always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.